Hello everyone, and today I wanted to talk about the crucifixion of Jesus Christ and what he went through for you. I think when we hear about the crucifixion of Jesus, it's hard to really think about what he went through. So I wanted to try and paint a picture for you guys, because I know that when I was learning about this event, it was really difficult for me to paint this picture in my brain. And a bunch of videos off of YouTube really helped me paint the picture of what he went through. Obviously, I'll have these videos in the description box below. Yeah, I wanted to help you guys paint the picture and really understand what happened on this day. So, the first thing we need to mention is why he was being sent there to begin with. The whole reason he was arrested was because of the Philistine people, the church basically, were very upset with the fact that he was walking around and claiming to be God and claimed to be king, basically. And when Judas finally told them where they were and betrayed him, they had him arrested. But why were the people of Israel upset with him? I mean, just a few days prior, on Palm Sunday, they were waving palm trees at him and putting their clothes in the road for him to walk on while he was riding on a donkey, while he was walking into Israel. And this was a tradition that meant a great king was returning from battle. So, if they were calling him a great king, why did they have him crucified a few days later? Well, the reason for this is because he wasn't the king they wanted him to be. I mean, when they saw Jesus, they wanted him to be a great king who would, in other words, overthrow the Roman Empire and bring peace to Israel. Because at the time, obviously, Israel was being run or owned by the Roman Empire, and the people of Israel didn't like that at all. So they thought Jesus would be this white chariot on a white horse king who would come and save them. So when they saw this same man being arrested, they were enraged and they wanted him to be punished. So he was sent to Pontius Pilate, who was kind of running Israel, I guess. There were two people running Israel. He was one of them, basically. I guess running quotations, but whatever, not important. He was the judge, basically. He was sent there. He was sent to Pontius Pilate to be judged. And Pontius Pilate, after his trial, found him innocent. He didn't find him guilty of treason or any of the things, at least yet he didn't. So he was sent back to the crowd. But the crowd was just enraged, and so enraged that they wanted him crucified, which I'll explain more on that later. So Pilate decided to send Jesus to be beaten, thinking that that would help ease the crowd a bit. And I just want to go into detail of this beating. He was beaten with a very bad whip that, when hit, would tear into the flesh and would cut the flesh. And by the end of it, his flesh was torn open. It was so bad that he was bleeding everywhere, and you could see his bones sticking out of the wounds, and he was beaten so badly that he was unrecognizable to the eyes. You couldn't tell that he was Jesus. That was only the first stage of this long punishment that he went through. After he was beaten, they put a crown of thorns on top of his head just to mock him some more. Like, oh, he has a crown on his head, just to mock him. That's all that was for, to give him more pain and mocking. And then he was sent back to the crowd. Them seeing him this way only made them more enraged. For them to see this same man who they thought was king to be beaten and bloody, it was a joke to them. And in their eyes, some of them even thought he was a sorry excuse of a man. And if only they really understood what he meant by save them. After this, Pilate gave them the choice of two men to be crucified. One was Jesus Christ, who we all know at this point, but the second one was Jesus Barabbas. Barabbas was a murderer, someone who deserved the cross. In his words, he even said himself that he deserved the cross. But as you all probably would have guessed, the crowd still chose Jesus to be crucified, who, while Barabbas, someone who deserved the punishment, was sent free. They chose an innocent man to be sent to the cross. Finally, one thing to mention is how serious of a punishment being crucified was. I mean, Jesus, when he was being crucified, the church and all the people, they charged him with treason. And according to Google, treason is defined as being a threat to one's country, typically either by starting a war against it or by helping the enemy. This all means that he was seen as a threat to the Roman Empire and Israel as a whole. Just to think about it, just think for a second that an innocent man who lived a perfect life was being punished and being charged with one of the worst punishments imaginable. And now we can talk about the actual crucifix. The whole trial, or whatever you want to call it. First, immediately after being beaten and after he was being charged and after he was judged by the crowd, they sent him to walk all throughout Israel carrying this big cross on his back, and they also took his clothes just to mock him some more. While being all this pain and being obvious, he was mocked while he was doing this, going through this. But then finally, when he got to Golgotha, where he finally was crucified, they finally nailed him to the cross. They had one nail for each hand and one giant nail for his feet to hold it in place. And just imagine a large nail going right through your wrist. And imagine it going through your second wrist. And imagine hanging there. I mean, it was so bad. In order to take a breath, he had to lift his head. He had to lift up. I just can't even get into it. It was bad. Finally, they put him up there on the cross. They put the cross up, put it in place, and left him there in pain, along with two thieves, which I'm pretty sure we all know the story of the thieves, but if you don't, I'll quickly give you a short description of what this was. So basically, while he was up there, he was being mocked by the entire crowd. The whole crowd was mocking him at this point. And one of the thieves started mocking him as well. But then the other thief that was being crucified with him said, "Yo, wait. We deserve this punishment, but this is an innocent man who didn't deserve it." And then this thief, who we don't even know this thief's name, asked Jesus to remember him when he enters his kingdom. And then Jesus says that that thief will be with him in paradise, which I can go through a whole thing just explaining that, but for the sake of time, I need to continue. But anyways, imagine Jesus was left there, tortured and beaten, and left to die, while being laughed at and spat on. And the crowd would scream things like, if he really is the Messiah, let him save himself. But the best part of all of this was, he did not talk back once. He never spoke up. He never argued. He never yelled at them and said things. While he was going through all this, an army of angels were up in heaven, and at the command would have came down to earth and did who even knows what. But Jesus told them to stop and let him be. The reason he never said anything back was because he knew why he had to go through this. He went through all of this pain and all this suffering so you could be with him. He took the punishment of our sin. Because you see, whenever you sin, a punishment needs to be made. And that punishment is death. That's why in the Old Testament, before Jesus, that's why they would kill animals, because a punishment needs to be made so that you could be forgiven. But Jesus, a perfect man who lived a sinless life, took our punishment so that we could be with him forever. And that's just how much he loves you. We can't even imagine how much Jesus loves us, because it's so large. I mean, it is so large that he bled and died on a cross with you in mind, and all he wants to do is to be with you. But obviously, he won't force you to do that, because you can't force someone to love you, because the fact of the matter is it's not love. And he loves you so much that he gives us free will. So if you get anything from watching this video, it's that Jesus wants you to turn to him. In John chapter 14, verse 6, it says, Jesus answered, I am the way and the truth. No one comes to the Father except through me. And John chapter 11, verses 25 and 26 says this. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die, and whoever lives by believing in me will never die. That's what that says. He's waiting for you to turn to him, and he wants you to turn to him. Jesus loves you, and I really hope you know that. That's the end of this traumatic story. And I'll get find as much videos as I can about this, because there are so much about this that I didn't even mention. There's the whole 12 disciples and what happened with them. There's so much to this story that I can't even mention for the sake of time, obviously. And because I don't want this video to be like 30 minutes long. So if you guys want to, I will gladly make a video about that. But I'll try to find as much resources as I can. But obviously the biggest resource is the Bible. The Gospels, obviously, John, Mark, Luke, and Matthew. And obviously, your best resource when it comes to these stories is the Bible. But if you want me to make more of these Bible story videos, I will be more than happy to. This was so much fun to do. But that's it for today's video. Do all the YouTube things, and have a blessed day, everyone.